couple of 3 points then. Just following on from that point, I mean, interestingly, it leads you to, I don't know whether it's sort of all our fault and it's just a complete incompetence on all our parts, all us lefties, we've allowed all these things to go into negative and failed and lack of use. But because your community spaces, we've been talking about them for a long time. I know for Manchester, you've got the Mechanics Institute. We've got miners' institutes, Quaker meeting houses. They weren't always the places that we met at, but they were, and they have. But they've also had to provide education. But most of them have, and your trade unions have tended to stop doing that. So we had it, we gained it, we've lost it. We're having to recreate it if people want it. So in other words, it's not just saying I've got a building. It's then saying, well, is anyone going to want to use it? Because it's that, so it's sort of a bit more complex now. Once you've lost something, it's difficult to get it back. That's probably just a reaction, but of course, something that is interesting to you, or I want you to know about, is when you said community spaces, green spaces. We are doing a meeting in North Wales on the 26th. I think it is 26th of November. About community green spaces. We're trying to take those over with the community right to grow, and that's Incredible Edible, which is a sort of a nationwide movement. So I thought that would be of some, get that on your radar, as it were. But it's not a solution to everything, but it sort of is worth thinking about. I'd like to know what your initial reactions are. Let's say we've had July, so that's 7th. We've had about 5 months, shall we say, of a Labour government, 4.5 months. So your initial reactions, and then just one other thing I wanted to advertise and see if you were actually aware of it, because I think me and David are going to be going. David from possibly South Wales, effectively, me from North Wales branch of the co-op. The Democrat Stir magazine, you probably know of. They are publicising their Democratic Business Summit. So it'd be great if someone goes from Co-ops UK, and they might be, but we'll be there and we'll try and assess and understand what they are doing. And that's one of the reasons why I said I'd go on behalf of North Wales. See if we're not quite sure what we'll find, but I think it's another opportunity to watch, listen, and learn more. So your reaction to the government in this first 4.5 months, and I've given my observation on green spaces. There we go.
Cheers for that, Chris. Yeah, green spaces are another kind of that. There is a company where it's called a co-op. It's one of our members. I don't know how co-op are class it, but doing this sort of gardening around Angel Square. So if you saw when you were at Hollyoak House, some of the little flowers up around by where Angel Square is a co-op group, these all been planted by a community group that's bringing volunteers together to re-garden what is a fairly urban industrial part of Manchester. It's not very lived in, and it's not very green. So we kind of got this kind of community flowers. The idea being that yes, we want green spaces to be seen as common, and that people can walk around flowers where they are. They don't need to travel all the way down to Cheshire to go see some. They can go out their house, walk 10 minutes, and they can be in a garden in the middle of a city, which sounds like an idea that Ebenezer Howard had with his garden cities of the future a very long time ago, and someone half built them in Welland and Letchworth. But in terms of how we say them, yes, we've partly forgotten how we do these things, but it is activities, and it's providing activities to let people know that it's there and having that open space. There are good examples, friends of Stretford Public Hall, that are doing these kind of things, saving an asset and turning it into some of your community value again. But obviously, I don't run any of those individual businesses. I can't get into discussing business models, but they are an interesting conversation that is beyond my remit as a policy officer of Co-ops UK, but I could talk to them for hours, so I'll stop. In terms of sorry, your next point was on. I remember the third one. Was your second one again?
The second one was your views on the Labour government in its
That was
first
it.
3.5 to 4 months.
So, I mean, at the moment, we've been very focused on the Law Commission at the moment. That's been our main driving thing, and the only thing I've really been thinking about Since I had that meeting in Manchester. Since then, all I've thought about is the Law Commission because it's getting quite close. The deadline is the 10th of December. So we are rapidly getting our response out, coordinating the sector's response to it. So that's taken a lot of my headspace. But in terms of the conversations we have had with ministers, I think we're really positive. I thought if you read our budget response, we were rather pleasantly surprised by the budget. Partly so, the national insurance contributions is going to be an issue, but I think successfully for what she's carved out an exemption for smaller businesses, a lot of small co-ops that would have crippled are fine. And then, it's going to be an issue for co-op group, but they can afford it. It's just going to cost them some. So I think the budget was really positive for co-ops. There was a lot of money and opportunity to put co-ops on there. And we said that, again, we just want to keep stressing to government, we are the solution to these problems. You've got a whole bunch of money they're going to put in for retrofit. Co-ops are a really good place to receive, distribute, and coordinate that money. Because at the moment, government wants to put money into things, but I don't think it has a thing to put money into. It just has a pot of money that it wants to chuck at a problem, but nothing to receive that money. But overall, I think we're really pleased. It's definitely the difference between this government and the last government is like night and day. It's absolutely night and day between the two. 100% night and day. The Labour government is really committed and really putting co-ops at the forefront of its agenda. So that's really positive. And then Stir to Action. Yes, we have had conversations with Johnny at Stir to Action. I don't know if we're going or not, but yeah, please, I'm glad you're going, Chris. That's really helpful. If we are going, see you there. If not, I'd love to hear how it went. We are having conversations with Johnny. We have done work with Stir to Action on some of these things. So yeah, I hope that answers your question there.